It's Wednesday, January 24th, 2024. The time is 7:32, and this is the Municipal Land Use Board of the Borough of River Edge. This is the standard statement to be read before the beginning of the meeting. This meeting of the Municipal Land Use Board of the Borough of River Edge is being held remotely and recorded via Zoom due to the COVID-19 pandemic and is in compliance with the provisions of the Executive Orders 103 and 104, the Open Meetings Act, and the associated regulations. Notice of this meeting was published in the Ridgewood News and the Bergen Record and posted on the front doors of Borough Hall and posted on the borough's website. This notice includes the dial-in, log-in information necessary for public participation and access to the meeting remotely. A copy of the agenda for the meeting was made available to on the borough's website near the posting of the meeting notice and included the dial-in, log-in information. During the public comment period of this meeting, if you would like to make a public comment, press the raised hand button on the Zoom or dial *9 on your telephone keypad to raise your hand. The board will address you by name or by the last 4 digits of your telephone number. You may mute and unmute yourself by pressing the microphone icon on Zoom or dialing *6 on your telephone keypad. You must state your name and address prior to making a public comment. Members of the public were permitted to submit written comments prior to the meeting via mail or email, which will be read during the public comment period. All right. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Present.
Mr. Castellan is excused tonight. Ms. Boland?
Here.
Mr. Merman?
Here.
Mr. Pfeffer is excused tonight. Mr. Cray?
Here.
Mr. Canigo is excused tonight. Mr. Glass?
Here.
Good.
Mr. Gibbons?
Here.
And Mr. Bastide is excused tonight. Also present, Mr. Behrens, and our zoning officer, Mr. Dupkin.
Okay. We are going to have a 10 p.m. curfew tonight, so all people kind of refrain from will all participants please help us meet this curfew. We have a couple of reorganizations of the board items, and we're going to have to postpone our swearing in of the new board member, Mr. Janingo, but we're going to reintroduce our new zoning officer, and for that, I will ask the mayor to introduce him.
So we thank Mr. Behrens for his years of service and greatly appreciate him. And we bring on Mr. Steve Debkin. Mr. Steve Debkin was building and he has done zoning before. Is that true, Steve?
Yes, it is, Mayor.
And we appreciate his stepping in. We will miss Mr. Behrens terribly, but we understand he has other obligations and responsibilities. And we look forward to Mr. Dempkin doing a phenomenal job for the people of River Edge.
Okay. Mr. Dempkin, I'm the vice chair of the board, and I welcome you. And I'm sure the other members will welcome you collectively. And as we proceed, you will see the members on the Zoom, and you'll be able to place a face with the name. I think that's the easiest way. Is Mr. Behrens present?
Yes, Mr. Merman, and if I could just have a minute, I just wanted to thank the board for the opportunity to work with you for the last 4.5 years as zoning officer. I believe we still are retained as planner, so you haven't fully gotten rid of me yet. So I appreciate you for allowing us to continue and to assist the borough. But I've learned a lot. I did my best to help where I could, and I know we'll be leaving things in good hands with Mr. Depkin, who's already been involved with the borough as the construction official. So I think
Sure.
we're anticipating a smooth transition. I'll of course be available, to work with Steve and, until we can, get things up and running. But I think he's already off to a great start, and I think you guys will be in good hands. So thank you again.
Vice Chairman, I'd just like to say thank you to the mayor and council for this appointment. And I hope I can continue as well as Mr. Behrens has. He has helped out in the past, and I think we have a good working relationship.
I'm sure we will. And I'm looking forward to it. But Tom, while I have you on the Zoom, can you give the board members a breakdown of the specific duties of how you and Steve will what areas you'll remain active in?
Well, our official titles, I suppose, again, Mr. Depkin is both the construction official and zoning officer in the borough. And our firm, I work for Burgess Associates. Our firm's been retained as the planning consultant. So I think some of the details, we're still working on. But I would say that for the most part, Steve will be reviewing zoning permit applications that come into the building department. And, again, as questions arise, I'd be glad to, discuss things, but, certainly he has jurisdiction over those. And I believe, in certain cases or certain types of applications upon the board's request, our firm will be asked to review, perhaps site plan applications or, commercial applications, things that require planning review. I think we'd be involved in, and certainly at the board's direction, we'd be involved.
All right. You will still be handling, I guess, some ordinances we've got to do, like a signed ordinance and stuff like that. You'll be guiding us on that.
I'd be glad to, again, at the direction of the board. We certainly have all the notes and ideas that have been discussed, so it would be our pleasure to assist. Subject to the
I
board's.
think that would be appropriate, but we'll discuss that at a later date, obviously.
Very good.
Okay, great. Mr. Depkin, when you get a chance, could you kindly forward your personal email and your personal cell phone number to Ed Walter for the chairman and the vice chairman's and Ed's use only? And we will keep those to ourselves, but we would like to be able to contact you when necessary and in a timely manner.
Certainly, Vice Chair.
Thank you. I guess that takes care of that. I noticed that I skipped over the approval of the minutes, so let's go to that. Let me get my paperwork here. The minutes. We have the land use board minutes of January 10th, 2024. Do any members have any comments or corrections on those minutes? Not hearing any. I did have a comment myself. Lisa, can you hear me? It's quiet. Hello?
I think
Oh,
she's
okay.
on mute, but she's here.
I can hear you.
Okay. I have one comment, and it's on the, hold it, it's on the, it's on the Windsor Avenue one. Here you go. It's on the Castenda Tam application at 429 Windsor Avenue. If you go to the questions and comments of the board and go down to the fourth line entry, it reads, Mr. Merman wants the backwash going into the street. That should be corrected to Mr. Merman does not want the backwash going into the street. It's quite simple, but it's important.
No
Okay.
worries, I got it. I'll do it tonight.
Okay, great. So we got that done. Let me move on here. We have a memorialization.
Oh, I'm sorry, we'll have to take a
Oh, we gotta
motion.
vote. Yes, you're right. Okay. They're not hearing any further comments. So we have a vote on the minutes, as they were corrected.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Craig. Thank you, Ms. Bone. All right, all in favor of the minutes as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, that carries. Great. Moving right along here.
And just for the record, Mr. Costa is here.
Okay, welcome aboard, Mr. Costa. We have a memorialization for the New Green Papaya LLC, 110 Kennecott Road. Do any of the board members have any comments, corrections, deletions on that memorialization?
Mr. Merman, I did have one revision from the applicant's attorney. The fifth whereas clause had the incorrect date of the application hearing. So I changed that to January 10th, 2024.
Okay. All right. Do any members have any comments at all on the correction or the memorialization or the application? I looked at it and it was, I didn't even find that one, but it was okay with me. So can we have a motion to accept the memorialization as corrected?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbons. And thank you, Mr. Craig. Okay, all members, in favor, oh, hold on. I guess we gotta do a voice vote on this, a roll call on this, because some members weren't present.
Yes, I normally do the roll call vote. I'll only call those eligible to vote. Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Ms. Boland,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
Yes,
Mr. Craig,
Yes.
Councilman Glass,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. Wonderful. Okay, so let's move on. There was no other memorialization tonight, so let's move on to completeness review. The first application is Sun Ming Wang for 474 to 478 Kennecott Road, block 804, lots 13 and 14. Is there somebody representing this application?
Yes, Mr. Merman, I am. Thomas J. Barrett for the applicant. If I may first, Ms. Stanley, are my clients on? They emailed me that they're on, but they don't think they're visible.
Oh,
Mr. Liu?
okay, yes.
All right, thank you. So as Mr. Merman stated, it's an application for site plan review necessitated by the fact that there's a change in ownership only of what was formerly the Joyce restaurant in the strip mall, just south of the diner. There are no changes proposed, no changes to the interior, no changes to the exterior, other than changing the one word from Joyce to Wang, Wang Chinese Cuisine. The footprint of that sign is going to be followed at Mr. Merman's Mr. Barron's request. The sketch will be submitted at the time of permitting to ensure compliance with the October 17, 2013 resolution dealing with signs on the various storefronts in the strip mall. The Joyce Restaurant was approved by the
Mr.
board.
Barron, I'm sorry, we're just going over completeness right now.
All right, I just wanted to give a brief overview.
Okay.
In any event, I will then leave it to the board to determine that.
Okay, Mr. Barron's?
Yes, so
proof-
from a completeness perspective, as Mr. Barrett stated, the application is simply for a change in the operation of the restaurant, no site plan changes, no interior changes that I'm aware of. So that change requires a site plan application. The applicant submitted both a site plan and I believe a survey, or in any event, they've submitted documentation, which I believe suffices for them to move forward this evening and be deemed complete.
Okay, great. Mr. Costa?
Mr. Merman, same thing. Ditto, you can go forward. The board elects to go forward. My recommendation would be deem it complete and go to public session.
Wonderful. And Marina?
Yes, thank you. Prior to the meeting, I reviewed the proof submitted by the applicant's attorney and found them to be sufficient for the board to hear this application tonight.
Okay. Do we need a vote on this?
Yes,
Okay, so you want to call the roll then?
we'll just need a motion.
Okay, we'll need a motion first.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms.
Second?
Thank you, Ms. Boland. Okay, vote.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Ms. Boland,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
Yes.
Mr. Cray,
Yes, yes.
Councilman Glass,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons.
Yes.
Motion
Okay.
passes.
All right, so for completeness review, we'll move on to the second application of Banks and Dolan, 126 Adams Avenue, block 612, lot 13. Is there somebody representing this application?
So we are self-represented.
Okay. Very good, and
My name is James Banks. I'm here with my wife, Margaret Dolan Banks.
Good evening.
Good evening.
all right, Mr. Barron's. Completeness.
So the application is for additions to an existing dwelling on Adams Avenue. The applicant submitted architectural plans as well as a plot plan or site plan, which appeared to be adequate and accurate. And I believe the application materials are sufficient and complete for the board to move forward this evening.
Okay. Mr. Costa, did you want any review of completeness?
Mr. Chairman, same thing. They've submitted actually engineering site plan and architecturals. And from my screen, I believe the architect and the engineer is also on with the Dolans and the Banks.
Okay,
So my opinion would be, my recommendation to the board is deem it complete and again, go into public.
and Ms. Steinle, legal wise, completeness?
Yes, I reviewed the proof submitted by the applicants and found them to be sufficient for the board to hear the application tonight.
Okay, I guess we need a motion.
Yes.
So moved?
Thank you, Ms. Boland.
I'll
You
second.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbons. Okay, roll call?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Ms. Boland,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
Yes.
Mr. Cray,
Yes, yes.
Councilman Glass,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes.
Wonderful. Okay, so we'll move on to new business items. And I think we're going to take the Zooming Wong application first. That being the 474 to 478 Kinderkamak Road, block 804, lots 13 and 18, and it's regarding a food handler's license. And apparently, Mr. Barrett is representing them. So now's your chance, Mr. Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Merman. As I started to say before, simply a change, it's really just a change of ownership. The restaurant formerly known as Joyce Chinese Cuisine is going to become Wang's Chinese Cuisine. The interior is remaining the same. Exterior, other than for the change in the signage, the one word, the person's name, is going to remain the same. And, you know, it's, in my mind, a relatively simple application. I do have with me tonight the principal of the new restaurant, Mr. Wang. He's accompanied by the landlord, James Liu, and in turn accompanied by Amber Chen from Mr. Liu's office to act as an interpreter for Mr. Wang, because he, you know, has limited English language skills. So, you know, he needs some assistance in answering any questions that the board may have. As I stated before, the Joyce was approved by resolution dated June 20th of 2013. And then the signage on the strip mall itself was approved by an amendment to that resolution, and that was memorialized on October 17th, 2013. Both resolutions were submitted to the board as part of the application. The approved use will continue, as I stated, and Mr. Behrens previously advised that a detail of the sign will be required when an application for the actual sign permit is made, and that will be complied with. Your professional, Mr. Costa, submitted a report in which he had certain questions raised, or he raised certain questions, and did point out that I believe it was either last year or in 2022, one of the other tenants was approved with a variance since they were considered fast food. And if so, then they would require 40 spaces as fast food. In any event, the issue of parking was, I believe, resolved in 2013 when the Joyce application was approved. In any event, so I think if we could swear in the witnesses, they can then address, I will ask them to address the comments that were made by Mr. Costa and respond to any concerns that the board may have.
All right, Mr. Barrett, I only see Mr. Liu. Would your clients be
They should be-
labeled as another? There's Barry W.
We're all in the one office.
Oh, you're
so
all-
we'll
okay.
We'll take turns on screen.
Okay, great. All right, so Mr. Liu, if you please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
So I do.
All right, and could you please state your name, spell your last name, and provide your address for the record?
James, and then Liu is the last name. And what address do you want? Office
A
address, home
business
address.
office address is fine.
Business address is 580 Sylvan Avenue, Suite M-E, Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey, 07632.
Thank you. And if the other individuals are there, if you could. All right, you can, if there's two people there, you can both do it at the same time if I can see you both.
Okay. Just got to get to the other side of the room.
Okay. All right, if you just raise your right hands, do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Just say yes. Now.
Yes.
Okay,
Ms.
and
Chen,
then,
if you could just translate for Mr. Wang, please, what Ms. Kinley said.
Yes.
Okay, great. And could you just state your names for the record and your addresses?
你的名字跟地址，你的英文名字，
You can put your hands down.
你的名字
周明旺
拼出来。
GUOMING WANG
然后你的
143
英文
如何了
143
14307 Sanford Avenue Flushing 纽约11355
let me
All right.
let me repeat again. 143-07 Sanford Avenue 6L, Flushing, New York 11355.
Thank you. And just for the interpreter, could you just state your name for the record?
My name is Amber Chen, AMBERCHEN.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Barrett.
Thank you, Ms. Hanley. So, Mr. Wang, Mr. Costa requested that you confirm that all of the aspects of the restaurant are in acceptable condition and that there will be no interior renovations.
Sorry.
他说里面没有改。
他说里面的那个装饰有没有改？ No, there's
No,
no
no.
change.
Okay. And we are going to submit a sketch regarding the wall sign. And that'll follow, when we apply for the permit. And obviously it has to be in compliance with the previous approval. There was a question by Mr. Costa, and this has been raised before, whether or not the existing restaurant parking sidewalks are compliant with current ADA standards. As we've discussed on other applications, since there is no structural work taking place, there is no need to bring it into today's ADA standards. As long as it was compliant when constructed, that is
Correct.
satisfactory. And it was because a certificate of occupancy was issued in 2013.
That's what we bring the question up through the chair, just to see what was gonna happen, whether we're gonna, any improvements outside, inside, and that's why we made
Understood.
that comment. So
No
that's not
problem.
an issue. I think the only other thing we said, some of the paint needs to be refreshed. Obviously, you can't do that now, but when the spring, obviously when
All
the
right,
spring.
the
you do
the
that.
striping. I was gonna get to that and say yes.
And
Come
then
spring,
one-
it'll be restriped.
All right, one more thing through the board, back in 2013, when Joyce came in, I guess into existence there, there's two separate ownerships in that strip mall. And at that point, it was almost like the Hatfields and McCoys, if you go back in history. The good news is, in 2024, I have not heard any complaints from either property owner. And I saw Mr. Liu was on the screen before. So whatever the board did in 2013, that needs to carry forward with the new owner, with the same parking requirements around the back and not getting onto the properties to the north. So whatever was said, whatever was done, just to the board, should continue in perpetuity while this restaurant is in operation. That's all I'm gonna say. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, the issue is resolved, and suffice to say that there should be no issue, certainly not from our end. All right, and Mr. Wang, your hours of operation, I understand, are going to be 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Sundays through Thursdays?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and on Friday and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Yes.
Okay. That there are no changes proposed to the sign lighting. The lighting of the sign is going to remain the same.
Yes.
Okay. We already spoke about restriping. That'll take place in the spring. Okay, there was a question about deliveries. It's my understanding that, what am I understanding? Let me look at my notes here, I'm sorry. That deliveries will take place during the business day and will occur around the back of the building?
如果送货都是从后门送，对。
Yes.
And that you're gonna continue the contract that Joyce had with the carting company to handle the dumpster.
Since,
同意讲 yes。
yes,
And that too occurs at hours that, to my knowledge, at least don't interfere with the peace and quiet of the neighborhood. So it must be done during the day. I don't know exactly what hours. Do you know when that occurs or not?
Should be during the business day.
This,
During the business day.
Should be
All
good,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, in fact, there was Mr. Lou, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you told me that there was a dumpster enclosure constructed in 2013, and that'll continue to be used, and it's in the back of the property.
That's correct. On the site plan, it can be seen on the site plan. It was constructed for Joyce, and it's still in existence, and it will continue to be so.
And then again, for Mr. Lou, there was a question, Mr. Costa's miscellaneous comments somewhere. Oh, the existing concrete sidewalk, and just that it was in poor condition, it should be replaced. Did you have a chance to observe that sidewalk and what condition it's in?
The sidewalk was in some sort of disrepair when Joyce was when Joyce was brought in, and we made repairs at that time. I don't believe that the sidewalks are in any sort of disrepair at this time.
But obviously, if someone pointed it out.
Obviously, there's been wear and tear.
No, but, and also if there is any repairs needed, you'll take care of those.
Oh, yes, of course.
All right. And I have no further questions.
Okay, Mr. Behrens, you care to add anything to that before we move on?
I just have one question for the applicant. If the applicant intends to have delivery service, if they will keep delivery vehicles on site overnight, the borough prohibits that. So just, they can have deliveries, but can't keep their vehicles overnight on site. So if he can confirm.
no,
Okay, so then beyond that, I would just say compliance with the conditions of the 2013 approval, and would otherwise wish the applicant luck. So thank you.
All right.
thank you.
Mr. Barrett, if you have nothing else to add, I'll move on to questions from the board.
Certainly.
Okay. So, any questions for the applicant and, or their people there? We'll start with Eileen Boland. Do you have anything, Miss Boland?
No, I have no questions.
Okay. Mr. Craig?
That's one. Will you continue to have the Singapore street noodles on the menu? This is my favorite meal there.
We got feedback on your voice there.
Okay. Move on. I'll try to reload.
You're echoing like last time, Mr. Craig.
I'm gonna log off back on. You can move on to others.
We're still having a problem with feedback. I guess the last time we checked if you had a computer or something else on.
I think he said he was going to log out and come back in.
Okay, great. All right. Let's see if that works. In the meantime, I'll move on to Councilman Glass. Do you have any questions or comments regarding this application?
Thank you, Vice Chairman Merritt. if I recall correctly from 2013, one thing that we considered during the approval was the elevator, right? And I just wanted to confirm that the elevator in the building is functioning properly. Can someone confirm that, please?
Okay, Mr.
Mr.
Barrett?
Lo-
I can speak to that. The elevator is fully functioning. It's
Thank you. Thank you. No further questions.
No further questions. Okay, great. Let's see if we can get Mr. Craig back.
He's not back yet.
Not back yet? Okay. Mr. Gibbons?
I have no questions for this one. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, I'll jump to myself. Oh, well, how could I forget? Mr. Mayor, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I have no questions or comments.
Great. And neither do I have any questions or comments. The ones I have already been answered. And let's see what we can do to get Mr. Cray back.
I don't see him on, but when I could hear him when he was speaking, and it didn't seem like he had any comments, just not changing the menu up too much.
Okay. A quick question, Mr. Barrett. It looks like the operation is closed right now. It's not functioning, the restaurant.
Yeah, that's correct. There were some health issues with the former owner's family, which led him to, have to shut down.
Okay, all right. I was just curious because when I looked, I didn't see any action, but
Oh,
All
soon enough, Mr. Merman, soon enough.
soon enough. Okay, great. There being no further questions from the board members, and unfortunately, we can't reach Mr. Cray at the moment. Can we entertain a motion regarding this food handler's license?
We'll need to open up to the public.
Oh. Yes, please. We need a motion for that.
So moved?
Thank you, Ms. Boland.
Second.
Thank you. All right, let's go to the public. If there are any, you want to give the public instructions, Ms. Steinley?
Yes, if you are in the public and wishing to comment on this application, please press the raise hand button on Zoom or dial *9 on your telephone keypad to raise your hand. So if you're interested in commenting on this application, press *9 or raise your hand on Zoom. Nope, doesn't look like anyone is interested.
Okay, then can we have a motion to close the public comment period?
So moved?
Thank you, Ms. Boland. We need a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, so I guess we're ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
So I'd make a motion for the application for Mr. Wang at block 804, lots 13 and 14 at 474-478 Kinderkamak to grant the food handler's license. And do we have to do anything extending the previous variance, or we weren't really discussing that, right? It was just giving the food handler's license.
Basically,
Just the site plan approval for the food handler's license, and the applicant will provide a detail of the sign to be submitted with the sign application. The sign will be in compliance with prior signage approvals. The parking lot will be restriped in the spring. And the parking requirements from the prior approvals will continue. And the applicant agreed to work with the landlord to take care of sidewalk repairs as needed. And then the final was that the delivery service vehicles won't be kept overnight on the property.
So I'll make
Sounds
that
good.
motion as amended by Ms. Dinley.
I see that Mr. Cray might have joined.
Yep, is this any better?
Yes. Did you hear the motion that was made by, Mr. Gibbons?
I heard the, Ms. Stinley's,
Great,
summary there.
great. Do you have anything to add?
No, other than the question I was gonna ask before, which is, are they gonna keep the Singapore street noodles on the menu? Because it's my favorite meal there.
We will have to definitely put that in a motion. Could you guarantee that?
Absolutely.
Okay, great, great. So you're happy with what you heard on the motion? Yeah, it took care of
Yes.
your questions. Okay, great.
Yes.
All right. So I guess in that case, we're ready for a roll call vote.
Did we get the second was from, I didn't hear.
Second,
Okay,
Thank you.
from the,
Thank you thank you, Mr. Mayor.
you're welcome.
all right,
Okay.
I will do a roll call. Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
Ms. Boland,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
Yes,
Mr. Cray,
Yes,
Councilman Glass,
Yeah.
Mr. Gibbons.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes.
wonderful.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thank you, good luck, and,
Good.
let's get those rules from Mr. Cray.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Good night, Mr. Barrett and all. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's move on to the second application, which is, let me get my stuff here, which is James Banks and Margaret Dolan, 126 Adams Avenue, block 612, lot 13. And who's, their self-representative, representing, I guess?
Yes, good evening. I'm Margaret
Yeah.
Dolan. This is my husband, James Banks. Good evening, everybody. We are self-represented. We have our architect and our engineer online.
Okay, do we have to swear in the, Miss Banks and Mr. Banks and, Miss Dolan?
Yes, so if you please
Okay.
raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
And then just state your name, spell your last name, and provide your address for the record.
My name is Margaret Dolan Banks, DOLAN-BANKS, and my address is 126 Adams Avenue in River Edge.
Thank you.
My name is James Banks, BANKS. And my address is 126 Adams Avenue, River Edge as well.
Thank you. And I can swear in your experts now as well. If you just raise your right hands, both of you. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And
Do
we
we
can
have
start
a-
with Mr. We could start with Mr. McClellan. If you just state your name, spell your last name, and provide your business address for the record.
Sure, it's Sean McClellan, last name spelled McClellan. Business address is 84 Gettysburg Way, Lincoln Park, New Jersey.
And Mr. McClellan, could you provide the board with some background on your experience and licensure?
Sure, I graduated from New Jersey Institute of Technology in 1997 with a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering. I've been a licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey since 2004. I've testified at planning and zoning boards in Morris, Essex, Passaic, and Bergen County, and I've been in front of this board several times.
Thank you. And
And
then,
you're like,
Oh, sorry.
Just, your licenses are in, good standing at the moment?
It is, yes.
Okay. So,
And then the applicant's architect, if you just state your name, spell your last name, provide your address and experience.
Sure, it's Brian Callahan, Callahan. Business address is 40A Tillman Street, Westwood, New Jersey, 07675. I'm a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey since 1997. I've been before this board as well as several boards throughout Bergen County over the last 20 plus years. And I personally prepared the plans for this application as well.
Thank you.
okay. You want to call your first,
Yes, I would like to call, we would like to call our architect, Mr. Callahan, first.
Thank you, Mr. Merman. We are proposing a couple of additions to the single-family dwelling at 126 Adams Avenue, Lot 13, Block 612. The property is in the R1 zone. Currently, there is a two-story single-family dwelling on the property. There is also a detached garage at the rear of the property. And we are proposing a new two-story addition at the rear or the north side of the property, and a 1.5-story addition on the west side of the property. The addition on the west side will have a two-car garage at the ground level, which will allow us to remove the existing garage that's on site in favor of a grass area. And we are also proposing a new covered porch that is 5 feet by 10 feet. So we are seeking, and can I share my screen to go over the plans? Is that possible?
sure.
Yeah.
Great. So I'm referring to the drawings that were submitted. This is sheet A2, which depicts the first floor plan. In this plan, the walls that are hatched in or shaded in would be the new walls. So we have a new two-car garage on the left-hand side. On the rear is a kitchen sitting area. Right now, I would say that the house is, well, it was built about 100 years ago. So there are very small rooms and it's kind of cut up into very small rooms. And what we're just trying to do really is to kind of bring this house into 2024 standards in terms of kitchen space and entertaining. There is an existing foyer in the front here that sticks out a little bit from the west side of the house. So this is one thing that is kind of driving the side yard setback. And if I zoom in here a little bit to explain what I'm talking about, this part of the foyer here sticks out almost 2 feet from the main two-story wall of the house. So I really ideally would like to have and I'm proposing a 24-foot garage, which is kind of standard 12 feet per bay. Unfortunately, I can't start that at the two-story part. I have to kind of start that out from that covered entry. And part of that is the reason why we are up against that side yard variance there. So we need 4 variances that we're seeking tonight. One is the side yard variance, and maybe Mr. McClellan can show on the site plan a little bit, explain a little bit more about that. There is an existing setback on the right-hand side here that is only 4.1 feet. And again, that's one of the hardships that we're facing is the siting of this house and the fact that we only have a little more than 4 feet on one side. Again, obviously, this predated the zoning ordinance by many years. A3 in the plans that were submitted depict the second floor plan. We're not doing the full second story on the west side addition. It's just really a 1.5 story to kind of keep the massing of the whole project down. But this would be a bedroom space that would be above the new two-car garage. And we're planning on a new master suite that would take up the second floor of the new part. I have also submitted exterior elevations We are proposing hardy plank board and bat siding, new windows, new roof. We are proposing a structural fiberglass columns and truss that have the appearance of a cedar beams and sort of antique kind of rough hewn type lumber. The existing, or I should say the proposed two-story addition, this is the right side elevation, the right side view, we're keeping below the 30 feet maximum, so there is no variance required with respect to height for either of the two additions that we're seeking. I'm gonna, if I could, share a screen of a SketchUp model that I have, which is a 3D model of the site of the house. And this is the condition that I'm talking about with respect to that foyer bumping out from the main two-story portion of the house. So if I look at this model head on, you can see that I need to be clear of this foyer part that sticks out. So that's one of the things that is sort of driving that side yard setback. The other point I would make about the existing, the side yard setbacks is that on the right side of the house here, where this is the wall that is 4.1 feet from the house, our proposed two-story addition, which is the bulk of the massing of the 2 stories of the existing house and the addition, is 12.4 feet from that side property line. So it's definitely conforming along that particular side of the house.
I'm sorry, to interrupt. This
Yeah.
3D model, I'm gonna have to mark it as an exhibit.
Okay,
I'll just mark it as exhibit A1.
okay.
And could you just describe the exhibit and the date it was prepared by your office?
Sure. November 11th, 2023 is the date it was prepared. It is a model done in a program called SketchUp. And in the plans that were submitted, I'll go back to those for a second, there was the final sheet was A5, had some three-dimensional images from that model that were submitted, so.
Okay.
Just to
Thank you.
clarify that, thank you. Then to continue along with the plans, our A4 sheet is the front and right side elevations. A5 is the rear and left side elevations, as long as a couple of perspective views. I also wanted to mention one thing to go back to the SketchUp model, if I may, about the covered porch. So we are seeking a variance for the covered porch. Currently, right now, the house is pre-existing non-conforming with respect to the front yard setback as well. It's only 20.7 feet where 30 feet is the required front yard. It's 20.7 to this foyer. Currently, there is a masonry platform here, which is, in my opinion, very unsafe, and I think maybe the homeowner will give some more testimony about that. There is a storm door that swings out, and the platform that is there is not enough to accommodate standing on that platform and having that door swing out. So you have to kind of back up and go down a set of stairs. So it's kind of a very unsafe condition that we're trying to make a little bit safer by providing a little bit more room here. We also looked at the aesthetics, and again, it was this existing foyer width of about 10 feet that seemed to make sense aesthetically to have us extend that roof over this rather than have another drop-down roof line. So that was the thought process behind the covered porch. I think that's really all I have to say about the plans. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I think the owner may ask the engineer to enter some testimony at this point.
I think we'll take the architect's questions and the engineer's questions as a group. So if you want to move on to your engineer, that's suggested at this point.
Yes, we would like to do that. Thank you.
Okay.
Sean, we believe you're on there. You can go ahead.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. As mentioned, it's 126 Adams Avenue. It's it's in the R1 residential zone. The property is 75 feet wide by 100 feet deep. It's actually 7,492 square feet, where 7,500 is required, so just eight square feet short. As was mentioned, there's a single family home on the property. The single family home is non-conforming in regards to the side yard. Actually, I just want to share my screen as well. Let's see. Share screen. Let me know when you can see that.
Good.
Okay, so if you're looking at the property from the street on the right side, you can see here it's just 4.1 feet, where 7.5 feet is required, and the front is 20.7, where 30 feet is required. And there's also, as mentioned, there's a detached garage that's also non-conforming. That's 2.9 feet off the rear yard, where 4 feet is required. Our proposal is to remove the detached garage to eliminate that non-conformity. And we have two, in addition, Mr. Callahan talked about in the rear here. Can you see my cursor when I move it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
And as you can see, the existing house is the 4.1, and the side setback is 7.5, which would be somewhere around here. And we're keeping the entire addition. We're just basically extending this line out. That's this here. This blue is the existing, and then the red will just come out right here. So it's fully conforming on this side. The garage is 9.5 feet, where 7.5 feet would be required on that side. The only thing that where we get tripped up here with the variances is for the combined side yard setback, which is 18 feet. So we have the 9.5 here, which is conforming, but when we add that to the 4.1, we get 13.6 feet, where 18 is required. And that's due just to the fact that that's where the home sits today. As far as all the improvements we're doing, if you take where our 9.5 is for the addition on the garage, and then we come back here to the 12.4, where it's 12.4 everywhere, except for this little piece here. That's the only part here. So, but as far as the improvements, 12.4 plus 9.5, we're well above the 18 feet required for the combined side yard. Additionally, we're actually reducing the amount of driveway coverage on the lot, because the driveway right now goes from all the way from Adams all the way to the back to the garage here. The driveway coverage currently is 811 square feet. The new driveway is going to be 702 square feet, so we'll be reducing the amount of macadam on the property. As also was mentioned by Mr. Callahan, is the front yard setback here for the covered porch, which would be 15.7 feet, and that's due to coming out the 5 feet off the existing non-conforming dwelling as it is currently. As far as drainage, the existing site does not have any type of drainage system. There's an enclosed porch back here that will be removing, a paver patio will be removing, the garage will be removing, and will be lessening the amount of driveway. So, all the impervious coverage on the site, which is 2,625 square feet, there's no type of drainage system to handle that. What we'll be doing is we're only increasing the coverage by 353 square feet. And we are providing drainage for the entire, we're not providing drainage just for the increase in impervious coverage. We're providing drainage for the entire addition, which I believe is 1,252 square feet. So we'll be providing much more drainage than is required. That'll help reduce the amount of runoff. The amount of runoff that comes off site will be less post-construction than it is pre-construction. I believe that sums up everything I have, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
I have a clarification. Your combined side yard what is the number, that we need for the variance? Is it 13.6? I didn't quite,
In 9.5 plus 4.1, 13.6.
okay, so that checks, okay. I believe there was a number mentioned different elsewhere, but the 13.6 is the one. Okay, thank you. What I'd like to do, is have our professionals, if they have any questions for either the engineer or the architect, and I'll start with Mr. Behrens.
Sure, good evening. And Mr. Merman, you might be referring to my letter where I think I may have
Yes.
had some different calculations. Looks like the plans may have been refined a bit since then. So I think my first effort will be just to reiterate the 4 variances just for clarity. So again, the first variance pertains to a front yard setback deviation where a minimum setback of 30 feet is required. The existing house has a non-conforming setback of 20.7 feet, and it's the new covered or the new portico that has a non-conforming setback of 15.7 feet. The borough does allow portico encroachments of up to 5 feet, not to exceed 35 square feet. So I believe they meet the 5-foot requirement if you measure it from, the existing house, but they're over, by a bit there. I think the area of the portico is 50 square feet where 35 is allowed. So that's just the difference there. Beyond that, as Mr. McClellan mentioned, there's the combined side yard setback, which the R1 zone requires a minimum of 18 feet because of the non-conforming condition they have. They're at 13.6. So on the one side, they have the non-conforming 4.1. And on the other side, I think it is a conforming 9.5. But again, when you add them together, it's technically non-conforming. The third variance pertains to lot coverage or building coverage, could be thought of as building coverage, where the R1 zone allows for 25%. They're proposing, part of my squinting, 28.9%. Then finally, there's an improved lot coverage variance of 39.7%, where 35% is permitted. So the only question I would have now for whoever wants to answer it is, one of the issues that the borough has had and that this board has had routinely is that oftentimes applicants will, get approvals for additions or new dwellings, but they don't factor in either a deck or a rear patio. So I noticed that there's steps going to the backyard. So, if the applicant or one of the professionals just wants to address, what their intentions are regarding rear yard amenities, I think that would help the board understand the full picture.
So our plan is to see how the property plays out. We would certainly, if we did anything in the backyard as to where it would be, we would certainly apply for a variance if required, which it likely would be. We would certainly explore pervious, not impervious, surfaces to allow for potentially not to have to apply for a variance. So that's our plan. We certainly would be in compliance with, applying for any variance if required.
All right, just I guess my final comment would be when you say pervious surface, technically even like a porous paver or any type of paving or man-made surface technically qualifies as improved lot coverage. So I just want you to be aware that that's the case.
Absolutely. And we would certainly maintain compliance. We definitely want to be good neighbors and good citizens. I understand your concern, and I certainly would certainly comply.
Okay, Mr. Behrens?
Yes, for now, Mr. Merman, thank you.
Great. Mr. Costa, any questions or comments regarding the
just,
testimony of the architect and engineer?
If we could, maybe the architect could come back and just, if you could throw his plan up there for 1 second, just for some clarity.
Sure.
All right, so the existing house, you have an existing office where you have the setback of, I think it's 4.1 feet.
Yep.
And the proposal is to put on top of that, it appears you're gonna put a walk-in closet on the second floor.
That space that's there already,
It exists, correct.
that closet
Okay,
space.
so that physically exists today.
Yes,
Got it. So really, that the 4.1 feet, you're not expanding that.
that's correct. Not at all. It's this.
So there's
this-
no change whatsoever where the 4.1 is. That's the
Nope.
roof line.
This gable piece right here on the right side of the house, that's
Right.
existing and there's no change proposed to that.
Got it. Okay, that's what I thought, but I wasn't 100% sure when you were saying the 4.1 feet. So in actuality, everything is, as far as where it is, it's complying as far as the setback for everything that's new.
The new stuff conforms with respect to that rear addition and side addition, correct?
That's, again, I wanted clarity. So, again, the board received a letter. I got a letter this afternoon from the adjacent neighbor, and I'm sure they're on. But I think that was one of the question marks as far as that it's going up and it's gonna impact them even more, but in actuality, it is not.
Correct.
Okay, that was on my only question. And then Mr. Merman, members of the board, again, if it does get approved, obviously we can deal with it two ways. One, we talked about drainage to make sure that we don't impact any of the neighbors as far as stormwater management. You heard that they're willing to do that. You gotta do some soil testing to make sure that that'll work there. They're proposing 1,000-gallon seepage pit, which normally we don't do in the town because of the depth of the groundwater and the clay and whatnot. So we normally keep them a lot higher in most of the applications. But again, I'll deal directly with the engineer or the homeowners down the road under the soil moving permit if required.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right. At this time, I'll go to the board members and see if they have any comments or questions of the architect or the engineer. And we'll once again start with Ms. Boland.
Okay, mine isn't really a question, but more of a comment. And it's back to the coverage as well that was already discussed. I know the applicant said they'd do something and come back for a variance. However, our threshold at the board has been to not go beyond the 40% for improved lot coverage. So even if you agreed right now to say you would not do any kind of rear yard patio, and you sold the property down the road, the new owners would come in for something because people want some hardscape in their backyard. So that's my main concern, is that there's no leeway for a rear yard patio, a functional rear yard patio. I wouldn't even want like something too small, but something that would be functional. But that's my only comment.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Craig, let's see if we can get your audio working.
Well, hope it is.
Yes.
Okay, I guess the original application was showing improved lot coverage of 38%. So I'm assuming there were some changes in some minor dimensions. We're at 39.7. And again, I hate, it's almost like we have this de facto change in what minimum or maximum improved lot coverage allowance we have, because everybody comes up and gets right to that 39.9 level to get approval. And I guess I'm looking at this and you've got some impediment with the garage, with the bump out on the portico or the front porch. I guess my question is there anywhere where you can shave some of this lot coverage? I mean, you've got that kitchen and sitting area goes back, I think, 25 foot by, I forget the exact dimension, I'm not looking at it right now, but it's pretty large. I mean, I'm wondering, is there any place where you can shave a couple of feet off of something, whether it's driveway, walkway, or structure that helps us not be, again, right up against that 40% coverage?
So I can talk a little bit about that. Let me just share my screen again.
Mhm.
So as far as I'll probably let Mr. Callahan talk a little bit more of this to myself, but as far as the impervious coverage not related to the structure itself, we've already got that down to the bare minimum. We only have 70 feet for the walking steps in the front. That walk's narrow. The AC, the two AC pads are 16 square feet, and then we have this tiny rear landing in the back of 24. And we did reduce the driveway by over 100 square feet. It is we do have it at 22 feet, and then it tapers down. I could probably shave a few square feet off the driveway, but as far as the improvements other than the building, I spent a lot of time, getting these down as low as possible before we submit it.
And I mean, anything,
The homeowners would be, I don't know what we'd be looking at if we shaved down the driveway. We would be open to doing that to reduce the overall coverage, improve lot coverage.
any consideration on, the depth of that addition in the back? Not gonna foot or two off of that. I mean, there's a ton of counter space. There's a ton of space in that kitchen, right?
Oh, I think with regard to the back addition, I know it looks very, very large, and from the point of view of it being only a kitchen, the right-hand side of it would be very large, but when you look at what we're trying to accommodate on the left-hand side, as far as trying to squeeze in a living room, squeeze in a back entryway, squeeze in the entryway from the front area, there's actually a lot of it to the left that's kind of multifunctioning, which leaves it that it looks like there's going to be a very large kitchen to the right-hand side. But the size of it is to kind of accommodate the multifunctions that we have to the left-hand side of it.
Right, so I mean, you've got that sitting room, I guess, the overall size on that is what, like 26 by 25 on one side and 14 on the other. There's a ton of counter space, there's a ton of open space, I'm just wondering, is maybe a foot or two off of that possible?
I'm sure it's certainly possible. It's something that we would have to, revisit. As I said, it's just from the point of view of the use on the left-hand side that we're trying to squeeze in a family room, we're trying to squeeze in a hallway to a powder room, to a back door, and also as you would come down the steps into the combined kitchen and living area, we're also going to need certain amount of space for that. So it's not that we're being greedy and looking for a super large kitchen. But we certainly could look at taking a couple of feet off that if we had to.
Okay. That's all I have, thank you.
Mr. Craig?
Yeah, that's all I have, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Glass. Comments for the architect or engineer?
Mr. Merman, first of all, it looks like there's a tree in the back on the west side. Is there any way that can be saved, or that's not happening?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
It looks like there's, on the west side of your property where the extension's gonna be, there's a pretty mature tree. I'm guessing that's not gonna be possible to save.
So there's actually a couple of mature trees there. The one that you're actually referencing is actually dead on one side. So it's something that actually should have been removed before now. So for safety reasons, we're going to have to take that down regardless. But the other trees we're not going to have to touch.
Okay, and then
There's a mature tree at the back there that we won't have to touch.
this is a question, I'm not an architect, I am an engineer, but I'm just wondering, the 2 feet with the foyer, that's driving the width of the extension on the west side. I understand you want to have a 2-car garage. My question is, do you need two garage doors? So if I understand it, if that's driving the 2 feet, my question is, can you just have a wider garage door that will allow access by 2 cars, but doesn't require that middle divider between the 2 smaller garage doors? And just my 2 cents, if you drive an SUV and you have a 9-foot wide garage door, you're probably not going to be using your garage to park your car in it. It's just a question, just a thought, something to think about. I don't know if I articulated that well, but hopefully you get the point.
Okay, yeah, so that would be something we'd have to discuss with our architect. I don't know, you know, the minimum requirements for like a double garage, etc. If we could have one door, certainly that would be a consideration.
Maybe that would help with the 2 feet instead of having to bump it out. You lose that middle pillar. You have a wider garage door so you can access it with an SUV or whatever you drive. And you don't have to take up that two more feet.
So would it make a difference if I was to describe to you exactly how our site is situated? I suppose just for everybody to understand it, as you would drive up Adams Avenue from Kindercamack towards Bogart, we're the last house on the right-hand side on Adams Avenue. So if you look at the Costa engineering report and the picture that he provided, so you can see where our property is, you can see where our detached garage is. And then you can see that we have that strip running right down along, as you look at our property, right down along the left-hand side of the property. So to the left of us is a garage.
Yeah.
And that's a garage, a double garage belonging to the neighboring property, which actually faces onto Bogart. So
Mr. Glass, we
As
can't
you know-
hear you, Mr. Glass. We can't hear you.
No, I'm aware of the conditions. I was just.
Sorry.
affirming what
So,
you're
just,
saying.
so as you would look at
That's
the house running up that entire side, what backs onto the entire side of the house is the back of people's backyards that face onto Bogart. So we don't have a house, you know, like a residence right next door to the left of us, if that would make any difference to that.
No, I understand. You're one off the corner. I looked at the conditions. And I agree. I understand what you're saying.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Councilman?
No, that's it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Okay. Mr. Gibbons?
Thank you, Mr. Merman. So just to stick with the garage question, I don't know if this, I guess this is for the architect. I'm not sure. There are obviously two different depths of the two garages, the two garage bays.
Mm-hmm.
Would they both fit a reasonable size SUV? Because obviously that one on the right is cut off.
Yeah, the one on the right is 19 feet in depth. Standard parking space is 18 feet in depth. So it is slightly, just a little bit larger than a parking space. So that would be a smaller car or storage, and the left bay would be for an SUV.
So the left side is more appropriate for parking. The other one's more for a smaller.
Right.
Okay. All right. I was going to suggest looking at that as some place to take off some space, but
Mhm.
you can't really fit two normal size SUVs, whatever we want to call it, then I guess that's not really an option.
Right.
So I did have a question about so Mr. Behrens had mentioned the 35, I believe it was 35 feet was our allowable kind of portico space. Did you look at all at being able to cut that down to a smaller? I understand the safety issue, and we don't want anybody falling downstairs. But just as a means to maybe cut down a little bit of space to help the backyard patio type issue. Was that addressed at all or looked at to see if that could be smaller and safe?
Yeah, we did look at what the 5x7 would look like, and we just felt that the aesthetics sort of chopped up the roof line of, we would, this there is an existing roof over that existing one-story foyer piece here.
Mhm.
So we would have another roof line that steps down or steps in, and it just seemed very choppy. And for that 15 square feet, we felt the aesthetics was much superior and the curb appeal was much better and cleaner.
Okay. I mean, it certainly does look nice. Again, as my colleagues have mentioned, we get a lot of applications for people looking for patios. And you maxing out at, not that we have a set number, but it seems to be the somewhat agreed upon level of comfort to be it's a fair way of putting it. You're really not gonna be able to put a patio back there. It's going to be very hard to do that. So that's kind of why we're kind of trying to push you to find some ways of doing something so you can have a deck or a patio.
Right.
So I think we're all just trying to find means of doing that and, figuring out a way of that making sense for you. I think that's it. Just a point of clarification, the now front yard setback is 15.7 feet. Is that what we're proposing? So that's from the front of the new steps to the curb.
Correct.
Correct.
So it's a 5-foot addition, basically.
Yes.
Okay. I think that's all I have for now.
Sorry, but
Sorry.
that's in the area of the existing masonry platform and steps.
Okay, well, I'm looking at Google Maps of the house now. So there's what, four or five steps now. So we're saying that those steps now are about around 15 something feet.
Correct.
We're really not getting closer to the street.
Correct.
Okay,
If I can just share my screen again, I can point it out a little bit clearer.
that'd be great. Yeah, I'm just looking at Google Maps and the picture there, and just I know the property now lines up fairly well with the rest of the block. So yeah, if you could just show how that's
Sure.
going to change.
Brian, can you just take yours down for a minute?
Oh, sorry. Yep.
Let's see if I can zoom in here. So the existing concrete stoop and steps is this light gray line I'm going to trace right here. So basically it comes down here, it goes across at the exact spot as our proposed, and then comes back up here. So it's generally in the same spot. The only extra impervious is right in this area here.
Okay, so the depth to the street is basically about the same, where the steps will now hit the ground as they do now.
Correct.
Okay, so the entryway now so that's more becoming portico. What is now brick?
Yeah, this will be that covered porch that we just showed, right?
So it was interior space. Now it's basically exterior space. Is that right?
No, the interior,
No.
the existing house is the blue. So this blue here is the front of the existing house. And then you had this concrete stoop porch here with the steps.
Yeah.
So we're basically just redoing this in the same spot and just covering it.
Okay.
And then are you then adding steps in front of it to come down? So the steps are coming 5 feet closer to the sidewalk than the existing steps?
And then we have the proposed steps, the 3 steps that come out off of that porch.
Right, so the new steps will be 5 feet closer to the sidewalk than the existing steps. Is that correct?
No, I would say
3 feet.
about maybe 30 inches, or if they're 10-inch treads, it would be 30 inches, but it wouldn't be 5 feet.
Okay.
It's
all right,
just
so
3
the
steps coming down.
Okay, so where it had been 15, it'll now be like 12, roughly.
12 to the first step, which is only 8 inches above the ground. Yeah.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Gibbons, thank you. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, so I'm very concerned about the improved lot coverage. I understand what you're doing with the front yard. I think 12 is kind of pushing it, but I understand what you're doing. Don't have a huge problem with that. I understand about the side yard total, and I don't really have a huge issue with that. But the truth of the matter is, either you or the person you sell it to is going to want something in the backyard. Comes before this body quite often. And I believe you're now up to 39.7, correct?
Yes, 39.7.
I don't see I don't see a justification for this board to approve anything over 35. And the reason I don't see that is because you're asking for a 2-car garage. In River Edge, the standard or the commonplace is a 1-car garage. I understand the desire for a 2-car garage. I certainly would like that too. But the second garage seems to be generating the extra improved lot coverage. And the truth of the matter is, sooner or later, you or the next owner is going to come and, they're going to say it's a hardship having a backyard with no hardscape. And any improvement in the backyard is going to be hardscape. So I would like you to speak to why we should approve anything over 35. I'd like for you to speak to why a 2-car garage in a town where the standard pretty much is a 1-car garage, and both the positive and negative standards that are required for an application and a approval of from the zoning board. So if you could talk to that, that'd be great. Because right now my vote is a no, because I can't see how we could approve 39.7 in a situation that will absolutely lead to someone coming back, either you or another owner, for some sort of backyard accommodation.
So I think I'll talk to that a little bit. The part of the issue with the garage, as Mr. Callahan stated, as far as as you're aware, that the 2 feet that the side of the house juts out, that affects the garage, being on the side. 2, excuse me. As you know, as a lot of the blocks between Kinderkamak and Bogert have no parking 9 to 11. So that has changed the parking. If you look at those blocks that have that, if you look at them even on a Saturday, most people park in their driveway on those blocks because they can't park on the street 24 hours a day. So they get in the habit of parking in the driveway. So I think that is a little bit different from when this house was designed and from what the people in River Edge typically deal with necessarily, because there's only a few blocks like that don't have 24-hour parking. What I would like to ask to address some of the board's concerns, and I don't know if we can quickly do a thumbnail calculation on this, Mr. Callahan, but if we took 2 of the suggestions that were heard, to take 2 feet off the back and then bring in the garage a bit to eliminate the middle, and that may be more of a kind of a ballpark calculation, because I don't know what that would save us. How much square feet would that save us, and do we know what change in percentage that would be? That may be more difficult to calculate.
Yeah, I can do that calculation real quick for you. So you want to take 2 feet off the rear addition?
Right.
And then how much off the garage going left or right?
Well, I guess if we eliminated the wall in between and the 2 doors, switched it to 1 door, what would that change us to? I don't know if you can answer that quickly, but
I would say it's another 2 feet off of that, and then that would be 52 square feet you'd be saving on the garage, and about that 52 square feet on the back as well.
So that'd be
140.
yeah, I'm getting 106 square feet. So I'll just do the calculation real quick.
About 1.4%. 106 divided by 7,500. If I can, through the chair, I mean, a standard garage door is 16 feet wide, I believe. And I think that goes back to what the councilman said earlier. And you could probably take off to 22 feet. Probably narrow that down because you're not gonna need that wide when you pull out of a 16-foot door. So if you need 16 feet, maybe you need a foot on either side. So your driveway would be about 18 feet, maybe a little bit bigger. So that would save you probably
reduce-
another 60 square feet, give or take.
You're talking about the driveway?
Well, you're 22 feet, but you have basically you have two 9-foot garage doors, plus you have a 2-foot in the center. But a standard 2-car garage door, single, is 16 feet wide. That's the standard size. I mean, I don't know where the architect is.
Yeah, you could do a 16-foot, you could do an 18-foot single garage door. It's not maybe as aesthetically pleasing as the 2 garage doors, but to move forward, we would certainly look at that. And that would take 2 feet off the garage at least. That would change our side yard setback on that side to 11.5 feet.
And again, with the bedrooms, it's got to go back to the RSIS, excuse me, and then it's got to count towards 3.5 parking spaces. The other thing is, looking at your plan with the doorway swings, the reality is basically you get 19 feet on one side, and then you go into your mud room and your laundry room, and the door is swinging into the garage. Actually, coming out of the living room area where the stairs are there, it's swinging in, and then off the mud room, it's swinging in. So the reality is 3068, I don't think those doors, you're not swinging those doors and then having a car there either. I don't think. So you
Probably
might
the
have to look
storage
at
there,
that
but
change.
we can change the swing of the door. That's not a big deal.
Right.
I just wanted to ask, similar to Mr. Costa's question, do you need any steps in the garage? Because right now it looks like the garage floor is, essentially at grade of the mudroom. Maybe there's a step down, but steps would obviously also be an impediment to parking. Just want you to, you and your clients to understand, and be happy ultimately with what
Yep.
gets
So-
worked out.
Yep. So we are proposing to step down into the new rear addition. So we will be close to, if not at, the garage slab level there. On the door from the mudroom to the garage.
I mean, and again, just obviously the board can do whatever they want. I think, my personal opinion, I think you need to look at the plans closely. I don't think you can just say, let's take 2 feet off here, go 3 feet off of there, and you can come up with the solution, quite frankly. I think you need to look at it, make sure it works properly, and then, quite frankly, come back to the board. I think if you do it on the fly, I don't think it's gonna work. I think you really need to make sure it works. Not that you get something possibly approved and then go to the drawing board and say, oh, by the way, it doesn't work. And I certainly agree with the mayor. There's no question, somebody's gonna put a patio in. So even if it's a 10 by 12, which is probably what you need. So take 120 square feet divided by roughly 7,500 square feet, that's 1.6%.
And
So I
Mr.
think you need to
Costa,
lose 1.6 and then somewhere like 120 feet and then bring it back. So you have what you. what's
Mr.
real-
Costa, I agree with you. This 40% threshold is I'll be honest with you, myself, it's the first time I'm hearing about it. I think it's in a threshold of the board. It's not an actual ordinance though, correct? And I'm not saying we're gonna violate it. We don't want to be right up against that. I don't want to be right up against it because I want to have the flexibility to do something in the backyard. So knowing that, I think we do need to go back and maybe do make a couple of changes because we want to be able to do that. I don't think we're in disagreement.
The bottom line is you want to make sure you can get a car in the garage first thing. You might want to make sure you can get out of the car and get into the house and that's what I'm saying. I think just take a deep breath, go over what you can do. I think you heard the board's comments loud and clear. And then trim it up, but to make sure it works. And I don't think you can do that on the fly, just my personal opinion. But again, that's all I have to say. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
So if we were want to come back before the board, with a few changes, how would that work? Is it improper for me to ask that right now?
Well, okay. basically it would work this way. We will, go to a public hearing on what you have now, because I understand there is some people that want to speak, and we'll put that on record. And what we'll do is we'll reschedule your application. We'll keep it open, but we'll reschedule it, which will probably be a couple of months out at this point, which would give you ample time to do your homework there and pick it up and go from there.
Just to add to that, Mr. Merman, if we carried your application, you wouldn't have to renotice. You wouldn't have to put your ad in the newspaper. We would just carry it on the record tonight to another date. And we have our board clerk here with us who can tell us an available meeting date as
Is
well.
Is there any way it could be heard like before a couple of months' time?
Ed, I don't know when the next meeting is February.
The next available meeting is March 27th.
That's not too bad.
Can I just want to say something, if I can? I'm the one who gave the 40% threshold. I should not have done that. Every application is on its own merit. The ordinance is 35. So anything above 35 is a variance. I should not have done that out. It's up to the board to decide how far they want to go. I had just said, I put it up to say in the past, but each application is different. So the homeowner had asked about an ordinance. The ordinance is 35. So anything above it is a variance, no matter what you do. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Ms. Bowler. Mr. Banks and Ms. Dolan, will go to a public hearing shortly, and we'll reschedule your application for the 27th of March or thereabouts. Right now, it looks like 27th. Is that okay with you?
Well, Mr. Merman, maybe I could suggest we could open to the public, and while the public is providing their comments, Ms. Dolan and Mr. Banks can decide what they want to do, whether if they want to proceed tonight or if they want to have us carry it.
Okay, we can do that. All right, so in that sense, I need a motion to go to the public.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Craig, thank you. Okay, so now
Mr.
is the
Berman, you have
time.
to say all in favor.
Okay. Anybody, okay, can we have a voice approval, or is there anybody
Aye.
again? Okay, all in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Okay. So now's the time for the people who want to be heard publicly, which are the McShanes, I believe.
Yes, they're here. If you could please turn on your camera and microphone and then state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, I had the microphone on, but I don't see anywhere to put the camera on.
There should be a little icon that looks like it says video.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
Are you on your computer or are you on the phone?
We're on the computer.
Question answer, captions, lower hand, chat.
Okay, well, yeah, we just have chat, raise hand, question and answer, and show captions. And only the left side has the microphone itself. That's it.
Okay, just state your name and address for the record.
Okay. I'm Patrick McShane. I live at 120 Adams Avenue. McShane is spelled capital MC, capital SHANE.
I'm Linda McShane, also at 120 Adams Avenue, River Edge. I have the spelling.
Gonna
we're
let
just-
Linda speak first. We did, we
now-
did submit a letter
yes,
to
we
the board.
submitted a letter to
Yes.
the board.
You submitted a letter, and I believe you submitted, have a letter and and 2 photographs.
Yes,
Correct.
Okay, that's what we're looking at here. So
Okay.
you've heard the testimony of the professionals, and now we want to give you a chance to have your say.
should I read the letter out, or would you
No.
just like me to discuss it?
No.
Rather you discuss it?
Okay, all right, well, our primary concern was, number one, the total lot coverage, which has been addressed quite a bit there, and it puzzles me why you have an ordinance that says 35%, and yet it's almost de rigueur that you say up to 40% is usually allowed. Why have an ordinance that says anything at all then, if you can sort of adjust and shift these things as it pleases you? Second thing is, we feel that this is the overuse of the existing lot, and will dwarf the adjacent structures, mainly ours at this point. It's going to be a detriment to our quality of life and the immediate neighbor. It's inconsistent with the aesthetic of the current neighborhood, and it's not really consistent, as I said, and reasonable and customary with the other properties on the block. It's going to stick out, in other words. Personally, we're very concerned, which didn't address much, the fact that the addition on the back is going to be pushed out, I believe 11.7 feet, and it's a 2-story addition. And we outlined in our letter how that is going to impact the light available to our backyard and our kitchen. The second story, although it's conforming to, I guess, the current height rules, it still impacts our enjoyment and the value of our property, because we are going to lose all the light from the west side. It will darken our kitchen considerably. We only have one window on that side to begin with. And also, it's going to come out so far that it's actually going to block the light coming into our yard back there from that direction. This again is a quality of life matter, I think, and a value of our property. It impacts the actual value of the property. You have something you want to say about that? All right, go ahead.
And the reason that is, the current setback that has been, that is encumbered, that 4.1 foot setback off our property with the office and the closet above it that exists already, gives considerable light shading that blocks the light on our driveway and garage at that point. And even though the other one is 12 feet back, is almost 12 feet back off of the property line, there's no 2-story there now, and it goes back almost completely to our garage. So that, as my wife said, now you have a 2-story structure that's actually shading your driveway, your backyard, and our kitchen. We had to actually put we put this in the letter, put a spotlight in the back in our roof to be able to get more light in our kitchen. And now with a 2-story structure on that side blocking the light that's coming into the yard, it's going to decrease that light in the kitchen as well.
It's going to be very dark.
So my question was, we had a discussion here about the west side of this property only abuts on garages and backyards, okay? And you're putting the 1.5-story and garage on that side. Why isn't the 2-story on that side instead of butting up to our property where you're already impinged on it by 4.1 feet? That's my question.
In addition to that, they were talking about the drainage. We were concerned about that. Again, you know, with this this, we've had wet basement issues already, and so was the neighbor on the other side. I'll get to that in a minute. And we're afraid that the lot coverage, I don't know what guarantee there is that that's not going to make it worse. I mean, I know you say there's a seepage pit and all this, but again, you're putting an awful lot of impervious structures on a very small lot, relatively speaking. We've been living here for 40 years, and we've always gotten along with all our neighbors, and everyone's always been very considerate of each other. And I would like to live out our final years in this house, enjoying it to the degree that we've enjoyed it in the past. And I think this is really going to infringe on that. Also, do you have anything else to say from our point of view? Our elderly neighbor on the west side, Phyllis, she has asked us to read something that she wrote.
Ma'am, you can only speak for yourself. We're not accepting comments from people who aren't present tonight.
So I have a question.
If she would like to submit her comments, she can submit her comments written to the board clerk.
All right,
As
as
we
we do that, because she's 90 years old and it was a hardship for her to come here tonight. So I said I would take it, but okay. Her concerns are very much the same as ours in terms of the drainage, in terms of another factor, the aesthetics, the drainage, and the amount of available parking on the street. Should we even increase the driveway opening, widen that driveway opening? So that's basically it. But I would certainly hope that for a 40-year resident, you take into consideration, what this is going to, how this is going to impact on them, us, and also on our the other side, on the western side.
So thank you for hearing us out.
Yes.
Hey, are we allowed to make any comments to that?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
first of all, I would like to say.
Wait.
talking about-
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so first of all, I'd like to say you're talking about the light being blocked on your kitchen window. Your kitchen window currently faces our dining room window. So whatever light blockage you've got right now, you've had it for the past 40 years, and it's not going to be any different to your kitchen window moving forward. The picture you submitted showing your current lighting at 11:30 a.m. shows your entire driveway shaded with no sunlight on it. So I don't know how you feel that us putting the addition is going to make that any worse than it already is. Very disappointed. You say you've lived there for 40 years. Jim has lived there for 52. We're hoping with the improvements that we make with the house that our children will live there for 52 years. We're not looking to build a mansion with a swimming pool. We're looking to build a 4-bed, 2.5 bath family home. That's all we ever tried to do. And it's disappointing that we're having this conversation in front of other people when we've lived next door to each other since 2015. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Steinle,
Yes.
would it be appropriate if I let the board members ask questions of the objectors?
Well, it was only a public comment section. They don't have video capability. We didn't swear them in to formally object to the application. They have raised their hand again, and we didn't close the public comment portion. So if you'd like to let them speak again, they have their hands raised.
All right. At this point, I think I'll just quickly run through the board and ask the objectors, ask the board members if they have any questions of the objectors before we close them out.
Is there anyone else in the public that wants to comment, or was that the only party in the public?
There are other members of the public, but they do not have their hand raised. If they're interested, they could raise their hand.
Thank you.
There's someone in here in the comments that says Mr. Wong. I don't know if I can still make comments.
He
From
wanted
was
to
from
comment
before.
on the Joyce application. But but he wasn't, he missed the
Oh, it's from
public comment
8:18. I'm
portion.
sorry. I'm sorry. I see
Yeah.
the time and it's quite a while ago.
Can I make a comment about one of the concerns from the neighbor?
Yes,
The two-story addition at the rear, if that were the only thing that we were going to be doing, conforms with side yard setback, rear yard setback. If we didn't have the 1.5 car garage, we would be okay with coverage. I just want to make the point that that two-story addition could be built without notifying the neighbors as of right. There's no height. It meets the height ordinance. It meets side yard and rear yard setbacks. I just wanted to throw that out there.
okay, thank you.
Mhm.
At this point, I'll quickly run down the board members and see if they've got any, questions of the objectors. We'll start with Ms. Boland again, please.
I have no questions.
Okay, Mr. Cray,
No, no questions. No.
okay. Councilman Glass,
I don't have anything, thank you.
okay, and Mr. Gibbons,
I don't have a question. It's just a point I noticed in the picture of the front of the house with the question of the sun. It looks like the sun is actually coming from right to left, and I think a lot of that shade might actually be coming from the McShane's property. As you look at the trees are actually putting shade onto the subject property.
Okay.
You know, they obviously have some shade in the back there, but I'm not sure that'll make any difference.
okay, very good, thank you. Mayor, Mr. Mayor,
No questions or comments.
okay. And right now, I have none. So let's have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Mr. Merman, they do have their hand raised again. If you want to permit them to speak again or not, it's up to you.
Yes, so I'll take public comments.
All right. You are allowed to make your final comments now.
There are,
Just-
we have, wait, first of all, addressing the
I
trees.
need to, excuse me, I need to clarify something. Is our objection here at least formally acknowledged? I didn't understand what you were saying about, because we weren't visual, that you could not, consider this a formal objection? Did I misunderstand something?
So this is a quasi judicial proceeding. If you're formally objecting to an application, we need to have your video present. I need to put you under oath to take testimony for you to provide a case against the applicant as an objection. Right now, you can make, right now, excuse me, you can make comments voicing your concerns about the application that the board is considering here tonight. But unless you want to make a formal objection, then I need to have video, I need to have you sworn in, and you need to provide testimony against the
Well, it's
application.
not
Right now, we're
our
just
fault.
taking comments.
We don't have video. It's not made, what's the problem with the video?
It's not allowed.
It's not offered here. How are we supposed to get around that? Clearly.
Right now, we're accepting your comments and questions. And you can make any concern, you can raise any concerns you'd like.
I just want to make
I
excuse me, I want to make a comment on the shade, okay, again. And I'll tell you that our comment in the letter was that the 4.1 foot setback with the office and the second story above that is actually what is causing that shade right now. And that the second story would extend that into our backyard, okay? So that it went to the garage. It's not coming from our house. We don't have any trees there as well, okay? So yes, that's how it exists now. My point was it will get worse.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Could I just comment to that, please? I don't think it's fair that we should have submitted on a layperson's commentary about what's causing shade and what isn't causing shade in his back garden. It perplexes me that our den and walk-in closet to the front of our house is causing shade on the back of his driveway and his garage, which is at the back. Now, again, I'm going to leave it at that, but I don't think that we should be permitted to take that picture and a layperson's commentary as to what's causing shade in his property. I don't think it's fair.
Okay, let's
right.
close the public comment section. I need a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Bowen and
Mr. Glass got me.
yeah, I see that. Can we do a voice vote or do we need
Just an all in favor.
okay, those all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any objections? All right, so it carries. All right, so now let's see if we can close out today's business. Right now, have the applicants convened amongst themselves, and what is your decision to move to a later date with some corrections?
We would like to move to a later date prior to putting it to a vote if we could.
Okay, very good. All right, does any board members have any comments or before we go to a motion? Okay, not hearing any. Can we get a motion to carry this application to the next available date, which at this time seems to be March 27th?
I'll make that motion for block 612, lot 12 to be carried until our next available meeting, where they do not have to renotice or go through that process again. We'll just.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbons. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, Ms. Bowen. Okay, let's take a voice vote.
We can.
Let's take a
A
individual
roll call
vote.
vote?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Ms. Boland,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
Yes.
Mr. Cray. Uh-oh. Mr. Cray is muted, but agreed.
Sorry about that, yes.
All right, Councilman Glass,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. The application for Banks and Dolan, 126 Adams Avenue, block 612, lot 13, will be carried to the board's March 27th meeting without further notice.
Okay, thank you. Any other business by board members to come, comments to come before the board tonight before we adjourn? Okay, you're not hearing anything? I'll accept the motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Bowen, Mr. Cray. All right, this we can do a voice vote, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Gee, you don't hear any. Okay, that's it. Good night, folks.
Good night.
Night, everyone.
Thank you.
Night.